All right, everybody, today we're talking about the Punisher in Nightmare 4. This will just be a general guide on how to use him in Nightmare 4 and be successful, and then I'll follow it up with the solo Nightmare 4 clear guide as well, because it's a little bit different, right? So this is just if you want to use Punisher well in Nightmare 4, here's everything you need to know about him, how he works, and what you should be doing. Okay, we're going to go full red tree, trust me, don't do blue. I've tried, doesn't really work. We need good sustained damage, and this is the only way that we're going to get it. So go full red tree here. In terms of our abilities, I'm going to go green, orange, green. Okay, green, orange, green. We're never going to use our ultimate because your ultimate does not scale with damage, you know, the red cards that you're getting, so it's absolutely trash. I know that you can use your ultimate to get out of a Namor bubble early, but then you're locked in your ultimate, which is awful. And is more likely to get you killed than anything else. So we're just not going to use it ever, not a single time. Zip line. This is the most important part of your kit. You're going to see me set this up in the background gameplay, but you want to have like a circuit of zip lines, and the reason we're using the orange one is because it's going to give us a speed boost and immunity to collision, aka you can walk through zombies. Okay, that's really, really helpful. So this is how, like, I see everybody complaining that Punisher has no survivability, and I will admit, like, his survivability is considerably worse than basically everybody else's. The only way to play around that is by using the Phantom Rush zip lines, like, all the freaking time. You'll see me spamming these, and that's going to just constantly give us this massive speed boost that we're going to have a lot of uptime on, and immunity to collisions. So you'll see me using the zip lines a ton in the background gameplay. Just be careful that the exploding zombies, the glowing fiery ones, when they die, they blow up. There is a vertical degree to that explosion. So you don't want to zip line over the orange fiery guys, because if they're blowing up, even though you're in the air above them, it'll still kill you. So keep that in mind. But other than that, I'm going to have a circuit of these zip lines set up around the map, and I'm just going to be using them in a circle, basically, to keep kiting things and keeping things in front of me. Your right click is also really important. This is your smoke grenade ability if you're on console. Obviously, it's not a right click. But your smoke grenade is really, really helpful. This is your oh crap button because it momentarily makes things de-target you. It's a very tiny window, but it absolutely will save your life if things are suddenly on you and you panic hit that smoke grenade. That'll definitely save your life a number of times. But anyways, that's our abilities. Let's go on to the cards. I want to start with the red ones. So we're not going to buy any blue, obviously. But with Punisher, I think it is... I mean, you get this with some of the other heroes, but it's really important not to buy every red, okay? Even though we want to get to 120 as quickly as possible, because if you're not familiar with Punisher, here's his red tiers, 20, 60, 120. You're going to start out with 60. You really shouldn't be coming out of the gate after you buy your first deck of cards with less than 60. But yeah, so change this firing mode of your AR to shoot a horizontal spread of bullets at tier 1, and at tier 2, the bullets no longer lose damage over distance, so there's no like scaling based on range. And they also knock things back on hit. So this is helpful against like the things that are trying to come give you a bear hug. It's also good for walking down the mobs of green guys and keeping them from throwing their green goo on the floor. Is if you constantly have them stun locked and you're walking them down, that'll interrupt their ability to throw green goo. And then finally at tier 3 at 120, bullets split into additional fragments. So this is where it's just going to cover your screen of bullets. You hit the target in front of you, and then they all fan out. Now, there is surprisingly a ton of nuance to Punisher's kit, and I'll talk about that in the combat tips section. But for now, let's talk about cards. This is your primary card. This is your best card, Punisher's Upgrade. This is going to increase the damage of your bullets. They actually just buffed this, by the way. So the legendary tier is now plus 90% on a single bullet. We're firing a lot of bullets, guys. Firing a lot of bullets. So this is like the holy grail of cards here. If you're doing a solo run, you're probably going to want to try and duplicate this right off the rip, okay? But anyways, that's your most important card is Punisher's Upgrade. Extended Rifle Magazine. Okay, we're only going to take like 3 or 4 of these, okay? 3 or 4 of these. After that, stop it. You will not need a bigger magazine. It'll just end up being wasted money. Like I'm talking, you could waste, 50 to 100 tokens buying these things and never get any value out of them. Why? Because there's a different card we're going to pick up called Smart Magazine. Adjudication has a 75% chance to return 1 ammo per hit 2 on headshots. And remember, eventually, you're going to be firing considerably more than 1 bullet per trigger pull. So at the cost of 1 ammo, you're sending out a ton of bullets, and you only need 1 of them to return ammo to you. So it's infinite ammo. So yeah, this is a big deal. We're going to pick up a smart magazine for sure. But once you have a base mag size, I don't know, maybe like 2,000 or something like that, you're done. You don't need to full send on that. Stop buying these. It's a waste. Punisher's biggest asset is damage, 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 damage. Okay, that's the one thing that will separate you from every other Punisher out there, in addition to your ability to kite enemies with your zip lines. But anyways, we're going to pick up Precision Judgment, our headshot multiplier. We want more headshot damage. This is going to basically make it so if we buy every one of these, that's just what I'll say. Buy every Precision Judgment you get. That's going to make it so that you never have to, in this run in the background, I never shot a Wanda Crystal, okay? I'm just doing enough headshot damage that we do not need to focus crystals to extend the duration of her final stand. We can just kill her. This also applies to solo runs, and I'll show you that later as well. But buy all those. Overwhelming Assault, we're going to, this one isn't super important. Our rate of fire is already going to be really high. So I would say anywhere between 4 and 6. Grab 4 to 6 of these and then call it a day. Deadly Lock-On. This is interesting. I feel like everybody's like, yeah, buy this, buy this. I'm going to have a different take. Don't buy every one of these. After 30 headshots with adjudication, activate bullet tracking for 1 second. So it auto aims. It'll just auto aim for you. Sometimes it will choose the thing you don't want it to shoot. That's why I'm going to have a different take on this. I would say give yourself about 3 seconds of auto tracking and then stop buying these. As long as you've got 3 seconds of auto aim, here's the like trade-off here. That's going to make it so that we can keep the auto aim on in the duration of our zipline usage. So we grab a zipline, we're flying over the battlefield. You don't have to aim while you're flying through the air. You just hold the trigger down, it's going to shoot things for you. That's really helpful. I like that because then we have constant uptime on our damage while we're being evasive. But you don't want it to last longer than that because there's a trick to doing extra damage to Wanda. And when I say extra, I mean an insanely huge difference in the amount of damage we can do to Wanda if this is off. Okay, we do not want this on. And I'll show you that. I'm talking about it. I'll just show it to you right now. There's a trick you can do when Wanda is in her bubble form. And you're trying to break the bubble. I think you're going to quadruple your damage. If my rough calculations are accurate, you're going to quadruple your damage if you do not shoot the bubble. If instead you shoot the floor right underneath the bubble and ricochet the bullets up into the bubble. Why does that work? Honestly, I don't have a freaking clue, but it is undeniable. This is a massive increase to your damage to the bubble. So this is how you're going to break those bubbles really, really fast. And later when I do my solo guide, I'll show the two side by side, like just shooting it directly versus shooting the floor, and you will be like, oh my gosh, it's insane. So if Deadly Lock-On is on, it will automatically pull your bullets up towards Wanda's head inside her bubble, and you can't do this trick. So you don't want a ton of uptime on this. You want it to deactivate after a few seconds so that you can focus the floor instead of her head. Cool? Does that make sense? Other than that, we've got rapid reload. I would say pick up 1 or 2 of these and then be done with it. You're going to be refunding your bullets anyways, so you're not going to need reload speed except for maybe when bossing. We already talked about smart magazines, so that's basically everything you need to know with the red cards. Okay, does that make sense? There's some stuff we're avoiding here so that it will add up. Saying no to certain cards will lead to a crap ton of more damage down the road because we're being more intentional about the things we are buying. So just to recap, buy every Punisher's upgrade, only get a few extended rifle mags, buy every Precision Judgment to up our headshot damage, only buy a few Overwhelming Assaults, only buy a few Deadly Lock-Ons. Okay? Only a couple of rapid reloads. Definitely buy Smart Magazine, and that's about it. Let's move on to the purple cards. Okay, so Vitality, as long as you are at roughly 9,000 HP for the final fight for double Wanda, that's enough. So I'm usually going to buy every 100 and above Vitality boost. So that'll get you there by the end. Trust me. I've never been in a situation where I'm buying every plus 100 and above, and I don't have 9K by the end. But on the flip side of that, eventually you'll get to the point where you have the 9K. Stop buying these. You don't need to buy them anymore. I think I think I had like a double legendary vitality drop right before the double Wanda in the clear I'm showing. And so I bought both of them, and I was like, why did I do that? I just wasted 20 tokens on something I didn't really need. So anyways, buy all of the 100 pluses until you get to 9K and then be done with it. Power Surge, this is the one thing about Punisher that's different from him compared to other heroes. Other heroes, you're like weighing damage dealt plus 8% for the tier 2 as opposed to the tier 2 of Punisher's upgrade, which is 18%, right? It's like more than double for the same cost. So on other heroes, you might be more strategic about this, but damage is just so important to Punisher being effective, especially against those bubbles and the Wanda melts. So we're just going to take every Power Surge on Punisher. He's the only hero that I take even the 2.5s on. But just take all of them that are given to you. It's not as big of a boost as the other red cards are going to be, but at least it's a guaranteed Power Surge. It's a guaranteed damage increase when it presents itself. You don't have to roll the dice on the big red ones. Moonlight Protection will buy every single one of them. Every single one of the Moonlight Protections we buy. No Primordial Frost. No Zeus's Thunder. No Restorative Respire. Maybe 2 Vampiric Vitalities. Buy only 2 of these and then stop it. Wasted money after that. Stop it after that. Buy 2. Full Moon. Try and get all 3 of these. Unless you are at the final, double Wanda buying session right before that boss fight. Don't buy them there, obviously, because you're not going to get any more currency to drop. But ideally, if you can get all 3 of these to drop, or like before wave 10 or at wave 10, that would be ideal. After that, you're going to start getting diminishing returns. So, okie dokie, let's talk about actual combat tips for the Punisher. So, like I said, there's a lot of nuance to Punisher's kit. Now, I've already talked about the Wanda bubble strat. Let's go through some of the main checkpoints. First things first, you're gonna, in your first 3 waves, set up your first 3, your 3 zip lines that you're gonna have for the rest of your run. I like to have them in a circuit. I go from like near the spawn corner up to the, the Fantastic Four buildings. What's it called? The big building with the ledge on top of it, right? We'll have one going up there. We're also gonna have one going from the spawn corner up to the far left building. And then we'll also have one underneath that left building that brings you back towards the spawn. That way, I now have 3 zip lines that take me in 3 different directions. And we're gonna ping these zip lines frequently because it's gonna keep the mobs in front of us. It's gonna keep us from getting cornered and pinned in. That's the one thing that will really just nuke a Punisher, is he just doesn't have that same survivability. He can't walk through the crowd like Blade can. Blade can be surrounded and have no problem. Blade can be in the middle of a giant circle of enemies and have no problem surviving that. Punisher does not have that luxury, so you need to be intentional about kiting, and you need to be intentional about using those zip lines, getting your speed boosts off of those zip lines as well. That's going to keep you alive. That's how you keep your deaths down to a minimum as Punisher. Now, I will say this. Staying alive on Punisher is a lot easier on solo clears than it is in filled clears with teammates. On the filled clears with teammates, you're going to have like triple the amount of ads to deal with. And so your chances of getting pinned in are going to be a lot worse. Like, you're going to get pinned in a lot more often. So expect on Punisher in a filled match, you're probably going to have double-digit deaths. Right? It's okay, right? It's okay. You've got other teammates to help anchor who have survivability, so it's not a huge deal. But you're going to cut your deaths in half if you're using your zip lines well. Also, we talked about it earlier, your right click will help them de-target you for a very brief window, just a very brief window. So use that when things are getting close, like the Berserkers. They run you down faster than you can backpedal if you don't have that speed boost active. So I keep wanting to say buff and boost, and so it comes out boof, and then I just sound like an absolute idiot. So I apologize if I'm stumbling over the word boost for some reason today. But all in all, between your right click smoke grenade and your zip lines, that's how you stay alive. Now let's talk about your turret. Your turret will die very, very quickly because it takes aggro. If you put the turret down, the zombies will go immediately for it. They'll turn off of you and go for the turret. So it will not survive. So what we're going to do with it is there's a couple places you can put it. You can put it up on that little wall near the Baxter building. Is that what it's called? I don't know. And then you've got this tree over by the spawn corner. And like halfway up the tree is this, I don't know if it's a texture thing, but there's a place it'll let you put it. And the normal zombies can't really reach it. So it's really good against the crawlers and the berserkers. But Wanda will cook it out of the tree, and so will Namor squids. So on the bossing rounds, it's not going to be very effective there. But for general ad clear, that's a really good place to put it. And it will help keep that spawn corner maybe a little bit more clear as well. Now, when it comes to the boss waves, with Namor, when it comes to the point where you get him on the ground, just stay out of the radius of the whales. Just stay far away, and you don't have to move at all. You just put the reticle on his head and you hold the trigger down. He'll die very quickly. But before that, he's got his attack that can bubble you, and there's a lot of theories out there floating around. I think most people are of the mindset that the bubble attack is related to the jumbo squid. So here's something cool. I did find that the ricochet up into Wanda bubble strategy also works on the jumbo squid. So if you want to take a jumbo squid down quickly, you can put the reticle right underneath the squid on the floor and ricochet the bullets up into its butt, into its underside, and that will cook it a lot faster because those things have a ton of HP. And obviously our headshot multiplier is like not really going to help against those things too. But other than that, you are probably going to get bubbled as Punisher. It's just a thing that's going to happen, right? You can't be killing every jumbo squid you see immediately. You're just sometimes going to get bubbled. So I just recommend trying to keep a safe distance from the places where the ads are spawning. That way, if you do get bubbled, by the time you're out of it, you're not like dropping down on an ad. So keep yourself kind of trying to be on the opposite corner of the arena as where the just general ads are spawning. And you want to cook them down as quickly as possible. Because if there's no ads in play, the bubble's just annoying, but it's not going to hurt. It's not going to kill you, right? It's not going to cause you to wipe. So focus the ads, and then the bubble won't be much of an issue. Wave 10 with Wanda, we talked about the bubble strat. That's how you're going to keep her out of her bubble very quickly. And then after that, when she goes through her final stand mechanic, just remember, as Punisher, if you're speccing into your damage, you don't need to shoot the crystals. You're probably going to lose damage by focusing crystals and getting more time that you don't need, right? Every time you break a crystal, it adds time to her final stand before she wipes you, which is convenient if you don't have a lot of damage. It's a great way to offset it. But we do have a lot of damage, and we have a headshot multiplier. So all we're going to do is put the reticle on Wanda's head and ignore the crystals as Punisher. That's the best value we can bring to the table for our team, is just baking her HP super fast. And so actually during the double Wanda final wave, I held the scoreboard up, and you can see how much the blades, how much damage they're doing during that final stand. And even though they out-damaged, well, I had the second most damage in this clear. One blade out-damaged me. That's just because blade gets up and running much faster and bakes ads faster. But when it comes to the final stand mechanic, you can actually see the numbers going up, and it is obvious that I am doing like a lot more damage than the blades are doing on the final stand. And that's just because I've got the reticle on the head holding the trigger down, and they can't come even close to touching my damage output in that scenario. So that's the biggest value we can bring specifically to the final stand mechanic. Ignore the crystals, shoot Wanda in the head. A couple of other things we got to talk about. Punisher's biggest value that he can bring to the table for a team outside of bossing is definitely taking down the Sentinels, the big guys with shields and clubs. Punisher bakes them very, very fast. Very fast. So focus them when they do drop, and your teammates will love you forever for baking the Sentinels immediately, right? You can just spawn kill them, and that's big value that Punisher brings. When it comes to the Wave 15, Wanda and Namor, usually I prefer to kill Namor first and then focus Wanda. With Punisher, it's different because of your damage output. With Punisher, I prefer to take down Wanda first because we can bake her bubble very quickly, and then we can drop her out of her final stand mechanic very quickly as Punisher. So with Punisher, I prefer to focus the Wanda first and get her off the field, and then I'm free to focus on Namor after that. When it comes to double Wanda, when I do solo runs on other heroes, my preference is to focus only one Wanda at a time and completely ignore the other one. So I actively try to avoid damaging orange Wanda and only damaging green Wanda. But since Punisher can break the bubbles so quickly, we're just going to shoot. I mean, sure, I'll focus one over the other, but I'm not going to actively ignore the other one either, because it's really easy for us to pop those bubbles and make the double bubble Wanda scenario not much of an issue at all. And then when she gets to final stand, again, we're just putting the reticle right on the head. And since the other Wanda's probably still alive at that point, we can't sit still while we do that. We're going to want to just strafe around a little bit and avoid the red stun bubbles. So that's basically it for Punisher, guys. He's actually surprisingly, like I said, very technical in this game mode, but not a detriment. You know, initially I thought, man, I have yet to see a Punisher that's worth his weight in Nightmare 4. Then once you start learning the tricks to Punisher, it's a completely different story. So his ceiling is really high, but he's not approachable. That's the trade-off. High ceiling, but not easy to get up and running. You got to know what cards to avoid, the tricks about dealing extra damage, and all those things compound with your zip lines to eventually get you to a point where you are pretty freaking nasty out there as Punisher. Anyways, hope this helped. Let me know by leaving a like in the video if you did find it helpful, and feel free to check out my other hero guides for Marvel Zombies. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.